that's the time when times are down and everybody says, don't buy, don't buy. That's when to buy. The greatest words I've ever heard were from Warren Buffett. Get greedy when people are scared and scared when people are greedy.
Welcome to Multifamily Insights. I'm your host, John Casman, and I want to thank you for joining us for another great episode. If you are enjoying the show, you know what to do. Leave us that honest review. We want to hear that review you have. We want to get that rating from you. Give us that feedback because it helps us make the show work harder for your investing goals. And if you haven't done so, or this is your first time listening, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. We've got a great show today. We're going to be talking to Michael Mannino. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So if you want to grow as a multifamily investor, you have to spend more time with other multifamily investors. And an easy way to do that is to join our apartment investing mastermind group today. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the mastermind button. Now, as a part of this group, you'll get access to expert trainings, group coaching calls, industry news and updates, as well as all of our webinars and workshops, including our 3-hour workshop on raising capital. Again, if you want to be around other multifamily investors that can help you scale your portfolio today and grow your network, make sure you're a part of the Apartment Investing Mastermind. Just go to casmancapital.com and click on the Mastermind button today. Michael Mannino is a master builder in Michigan and Florida with a passion for real estate. He has over 35 years of experience in building, flipping, and wholesaling houses and apartments. Let's welcome to the show, Michael Mannino.
John, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
It really is such an honor to be in here. Maybe I should have timed it a little bit better to be your 600th show. That would have been a lot of fun.
It's crazy. We start recording and I start looking at the episodes and I'm like, oh man, we're getting there. We're about to hit another milestone. And I always try to figure out what I want to do for those milestone episodes. So we had a guy who helped me very early on in my career for the 600th episode. So we're excited for that. But listen, I'm excited to chat with you today. I know you got a lot of great value. We've been talking in the green room here. But for those folks who are not as familiar with you or your background, why don't you take 2 minutes and fill in some of those gaps?
Well, we talked about it. I came from Detroit, Michigan, around that area. Lived there for a few years, and I got thrown into construction. I got fired from Red Lobster. I was 20, 21 years old. A friend of mine said, "Hey, you got to start construction." And I'm like, "All right, cool." I went in there, and I worked for a guy that could barely speak English. He was Italian, great guy, but he's just, he's an immigrant, and he owned his own company. I'm like, wow, this is an amazing country where you can. You could have an immigrant, be your boss. And this guy had a hard time speaking English. And then I started working for him for a few years, and then I started loving it. And after I started loving it, I started my own company, finished carpentry, and then we went into building. And from building, we did remodeling, we did new houses, new construction. We started working in an apartment complex. I didn't get the bug yet. And then a few years later, the crash happened in 2008, and I had a bunch of good guys, and they were, I didn't want to lose them. There's a core, when you have a construction company, you have a core bunch of guys you don't want to lose. So in 08 and 9, there was nothing to build. Nobody wanted to remodel, nothing, absolutely nothing. I didn't want to lose them. And a friend of mine came up to me and said, "Hey man, you want to buy a house for $14,500? Sure. So I bought it. I put my guys in there, and they said they hated it. They were doing these big mansions, and now they're doing these little, 900 square foot rehabs. They're all mad at me. And then another one popped up, and I got into flipping. I didn't mean to, by accident. I got into flipping, and I absolutely loved it. Because when you build a house, it takes, a big custom house. We worked for a lot of high-end people. I don't know if you knew one of them, 5 Hour Energy.
Yeah.
5 Hour Energy drink. Yeah, the guy that owns his name's Manosh, and we worked on his house, and it was a really nice house. And they're working on these $12 million houses. Now they're flipping these garbage houses. But I loved it because I didn't have to put a foundation in. I didn't have to pull permits. I didn't have to do framing. I didn't have to do a new roof. I didn't have to do all this. The house was 90% there. And then whatever the rehab was, it took a lot less time. Now we're down to, I've got 3 crews in Michigan going that are flipping a house in a month, 3 weeks to a month. So our most time we spend in a house is the dispositions. When we buy a house, we find a house, we agree to it. within a week, we can own it. We buy them cash. We put our guys in there, and then the disposition takes about 45 days. Once you sell the property, it takes the mortgage. That's the longest part of our process. And we systematized it to have it where it, once we have a house, we just add a contractor to it. And then as soon as the point comes where he's just about ready to be done, we take pictures, we do an appraisal, and we clean the place. And we stage it, right? And then we stage it and then take pictures. And then we offload it, and it sells pretty quick, because our houses go against houses that are 30 years old that, haven't been touched. And then after that, after '08, we still have the flipping company. I'm starting to do some flips in Florida. I moved to Florida a couple of years ago, and then we got into multifamily. That's a lot of fun. That's a lot more fun because it's repeatable. It's just, we found a 11 unit apartment complex, and we got it for $375,000. It was just trashed. One of the the valves for your shower, they had a 3-prong. They were quick grips. You just, lock them onto a wrench, and then you just, turn it. That was the turn on and off for the valves of the shower. That's how nasty this place was. And then I'm a flipper, so we just flipped it. We went into every unit and we fixed each one up, and I taught my guys how to do it within a week. Flip a unit in a week. And then they made a lot of money. The place is up and running, and now we're just hungry to find properties like that to just, go in and fix up.
I love it, man.
That's where we're at. We love it.
I love it, man. Let's break some of this down, man, because we're definitely going to talk more about the multifamily, but I want to make sure we understand some of the background. First of all, got fired from Red Lobster. I have more questions there, but it's not the best use of our time today. So you get fired from Red Lobster. Buddy of yours says, "Hey, try construction." You do that, work for the Italian immigrant, grow your business, get excited about both working for him and then ultimately launch your own business. You start doing more construction, some carpentry work, working in a lot of these larger homes. Sounds like some ground up developments as well. And then ultimately, when the crash happens, the deals just dry up, the opportunities dry up. You come across this property, a $14,000 house. You buy it, put your crew in there, 900 square feet. They get to work, flip that. And then you start kind of getting a model going where you do another house like that, and you start getting kind of a system and a flow, and then develop really the flipping arm of your business almost on accident, not necessarily intentional, but just came across deals given the market and you were scaling there. Today, that's something you still have, your flipping business, where you got it down, or you could flip a deal or flip a home in 3 to 4 weeks. And now you've also transitioned into multifamily, where now you had that 11 unit you mentioned, but you're buying these multifamily properties and kind of taking the lessons learned from building a successful flipping business and then implementing that to turn those multifamily properties more efficiently. Let's break down some of the single family flips first, because I want to make sure we have plenty of time to talk about the multifamily. You talked about being able to do these deals in 3 to 4 weeks. What were some of the bottleneck? Because I think that's surprising for a lot of people. What were some of the bottleneck issues that you uncovered that you were able to resolve to really decrease the amount of time it takes on these flips?
Oh, there's a lot. So the bottleneck's always the bottleneck is always at the top of a bottle, right? It's the head person that has the bottleneck. I have a friend of mine that's a life coach, and when he goes in, he goes, this company wants to turn $5 million company into a $10 million company. You got to run to the head guy and find out what his limitations are. That's really the key. So if I'm the head guy in that particular aspect, my limitations were I can't find repeatable deals. I can't find a deal that fits our buy criteria repeatable. That was my bottleneck. So we went to a coaching company and we hired him for a year. And my son's my partner. And I said, I need you to handle this part. And he goes, no problem. So whatever that coaching company told us to do, that's what we did to find deals. We started mailers, we selling driver for dollars, we started wholesaling, we started getting into groups, real estate RIA groups, and meeting people. And then he was really instrumental on getting every deal that we got to be repeatable. We got this deal, we got this deal, we got this deal, we got this deal. And then now my challenge was to get my crews to do what they're supposed to do in the time we need it done. So I brought him in. Let me give you a scenario. You know this better than anybody. I'm sure you've talked about it a million times. It's mindset, right? Everything's mindset. I'm a fifth degree black belt in martial arts. The one thing I've learned about myself is that your mindset controls your destiny. Whatever you think, it shall become. Uh, so we had this apartment complex, and my guy was like, "I'm not going to make any money on this," and we had like 11 units. I go, "Okay, let me show you how to do this." We got there, and then I said, "How long is it going to take you? You got three guys here. What do you think it's going to take to do this in a week? 5 days, not a week. I'm talking a work week, not 40 hours, maybe 42, 44 hours. I'm asking for a couple extra hours per week." And he goes, "We won't get this done. I bet you it's 60% we won't get this done in a week." I go, "What do you think?" He goes, 70%. The main guy, he goes, "I got a 90% chance that we will do it." So you're 10%, you don't think you'll do it. He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Okay, here. What are you going to do on Monday?" And he told me what he's going to do. "What are you going to do on Monday?" He goes, told me what he's going to do. "What are you going to do on Monday?" Three guys. "Okay, good. That's done. What's next?" And then I had them lay out their week, right? By the time we got to Thursday, I said, "What are you going to do Thursday?" Everything was done. And I go, "Okay. So you're going to paint?" He goes, "Yeah." "What are you going to do Friday?" "Flooring." "Okay, cool. All three of you be doing paint and flooring on Thursday and Friday." And then I went there every day and did video on it. "Hey, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're on it, you're behind on this, you're ahead on this." And if here's the key is I got them to tell me what they were going to be able to do in the time frame that they allowed. They I'm going to take 4 hours to do the bathroom. I'm going to do 4 hours to take out the doors and rehang the doors. Now they're vested in it because they set it. They set the time, they said what day, and then they stayed a couple extra hours. And I got there Friday at 12 o'clock, and there was a baseboard heat. And I love construction, so I helped them put the baseboard heat panels on. And we got done at 5 o'clock on Friday. And then I told my guy, can you, I didn't want to disclose the number, but the number we had scheduled that was over $10,000. Like, "Can you handle $10,000 in a week?" And he goes, "Yeah, I can make money on that." So it's having them, make them responsible. You know what I mean? If you tell them to get it done in this time, they can say, "No, it's not possible." But as soon as they put their word on it, that's when it becomes possible. That's when I shift the mindset change. And then Friday at 5 o'clock, I said, "Hey, Jay, what did you say it would take?" And I put the video over to him, and he goes, 60%. "Hey, John, what did you think it was?" 70%. "And what did you think?" And he goes, 90%. I put it over to me, and I said, "It's a 100% chance. And guess what? We're here."
I love
So
that.
that worked out. And now that shows them how to get stuff done in a quicker fashion. I built a house in 6 days.
That's incredible. You said two things that really jump out to me. One is when we talk about mindset, but to make that a bit more practical here, you talk about the buy-in and the ownership, right? It's one thing for you to be confident and to say, "Okay, we can get this done in 5 days," but to get the buy-in from your crew, from the guys that you can't control. I mean, certainly you can stand there and try to manage people and micromanage them to get them to try to stay on budget and on time. But most people, don't want to be managed that way. You're certainly going to lose good employees if you manage that way. So how do you encourage them and motivate them to operate in that capacity and to see things the way you did? And what you did in that example was you talked to them and you pushed them to have ownership to see what they could do. I think you also created just a little bit of competition, right? By having the guys talk to amongst each other, and now they have that vested interest to see if they can outdo each other versus, if it was just them, maybe they have no incentive to get it done in 5 days. If they think it's going to take 10 days, well, I'm going to move at a pace that moves, that allows them to get it done in 10 days. And when they get ahead, maybe they take a longer break or they leave early for the day. And I think that's a challenge a lot of people have. Obviously, this was your crew, but as investors, is there anything we can do when we're working with either a contractor or even our own projects to try to keep that team motivated and to keep them, on or ahead of schedule?
Yes, there's a lot of little tricks and tips that I've learned over the years that really do help. Um, self-management and self-motivation is probably my key to the success of my companies. Trying to get them to show up on time. Is that tough?
Always.
Right? It's trying to get them to show up on time. So I had a crew. I had exceptional guys, and here's the key that I don't tell anybody. I should have been on your 600 episode just to tell you this key. This is really huge. How do you have a great team? How do you build a great team? Good question, isn't it?
That's a great question.
I have the greatest martial arts school in the United States in Lake Orion, Michigan. How did I get them? I started telling them, and I went around the world and traveled in martial arts and competed all around the world in breaking. And then I came back to my school and I said, I've got the best martial arts school in the United States. And my black belts would look at me. I have currently, I think, 26 black belts. I have more black belts than most people have students. We have about 100 students. How do I have the best black belts? I kept telling them, I've got the best black belts. I've got the best school. I've got the biggest amount. When I talk to people around the world, they got 26 students. I've got 26 black belts. I got 26 teachers. I've got the best. And you know what started happening? They started standing up to that mantra. I set the expectation. They started working their way up to it. And I said, I'm going to leave. I'm going to Florida. It's not going to be me leading this. Whoever's going to be leading this is going to have to. And I told the person that took over, I'm giving you the best team. How are you going to keep them? She goes, I don't know. I go, you're going to tell them they're the best team. Keep telling them, repeat it. You are the best team. You are the best team. And then I had to have somebody come to the US Open and beat me in breaking. And then they came back to the school and they're taking over the breaking part of that school. So by telling somebody as the leader, as the bottleneck, telling everybody underneath you, I got the best crew. I got the best crew. What are they going to do? They're going to want to become the best crew. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, man. You got to talk it into existence, right? Give them the confidence, talk it into existence, and reinforce that every day. I love that, man. I think it's really great too because it's one of those things where I think we always have a little bit more control and influence than we give ourselves credit for. And when you're working with, contractors, team members, people on your squad, making sure that you empower them and you also praise them, that's going to allow them to perform a little better. Because, I think most of the time we hear the negative when it comes to contractors and kind of our vendors, right? Oh, this guy was late. He didn't show up. He's overpriced. He's behind the timeline. So it's very easy for investors in particular to drag on our partners there, and maybe flipping that is a great way to get a little bit more out of your partners. They've got to feel valued. They've got to feel like they're a part of the team, that they have an important role. And at the end of the day, this is obviously a business. So if we can help them make more money, that's going to be beneficial for everybody. So if you can position in the way, going back to what you talked about on doing a project in a week, well, if they can knock out a project in a week, well, that's more profits for them, right? I mean, a lot of times they're paying their crews by the hour, by the project anyway. So the more projects they could take on, the more profits for them. So, if you can set it up the right way, you could definitely create a win-win situation. Love that. You talked about, having 5 degrees of black belt, having your own school. Talk to me about just the growth that you've gone on, and that path and how it's impacted you as a real estate investor.
Ooh, that's a great question. So for me, it's a little bit different. I've been blessed I've got 10 first place trophies at the US Open, 2 ISK belts, and 1 world record. How'd I get there? It's all one step at a time. If you would have told me when I was in martial arts in high school, and if you would have told me I would have this stuff, I would have laughed in your face. I would have laughed. I would have laughed the entire time and probably not tried because I didn't think I could do it. I knew for a fact then I couldn't. And I was right. I got thrown into a professional event. One of my students wanted to go to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Sports Festival in Ohio in 2011. I took her there and I said, well, if I'm going to go, I'm going to compete. And then I won a first and second at a national tournament. national tournament. I was blown. Nobody was more surprised than me. Nobody. And then I said, hey, I could have pushed my car home from Columbus, Ohio to Detroit. I could have pushed it. I was on fire. I'm sure when you won some championships, you know how you feel, right? It's undescribable. And I'm so excited. I go to the guy running the place. I go, hey, when's your next tournament? He goes, the US Open. I go, wow, how do I qualify? He looked at my broken bricks. He looked back at me. He goes, I think you just did. And then once I won won what I won, my mind shift changed, right? Now you do something exceptional. If you're good at something, you can be good at anything. And then I took, my construction business started blowing up, and then the flipping company started blowing up, and now we're into the multifamily. And right now, it's a hard time. I'm sure everybody knows in multifamily because the interest rates are higher than they were a year ago. Sellers' expectations and buyers' expectations are a little bit different. But the one thing I want to try and give your listeners is in '08, 9, and 10, it was the hardest times. And that's when I bought the most real estate I've ever bought at the time. It's coming again in the next couple of years. That's the time when times are down and everybody says, don't buy, don't buy. That's when to buy. The greatest words I've ever heard were from Warren Buffett. Get greedy when people are scared and scared when people are greedy. In the last year and a half, I've been scared because everybody's been getting greedy.
I
And so
love
in
it.
the next couple of years, I'm going to get greedy because people are going to get scared.
Well, and I think you hit on a couple things there. One is you said something that really jumped out to me. First of all, having that experience, when you go through and you're breaking bricks, you're competing. One, you only competed because one of your students wanted to compete, and you said, "Okay, well, I'll go up here with you." You might as well sign up. You'd sign up, you compete, you win. It was almost obviously you know you were kind of naive about the process because you didn't even realize that you you qualified for the U.S. Open through that process, right? So now that started to shift kind of your mindset of what was possible, and that's the
Right.
beautiful thing about doing something. When you achieve one thing, well, it opens up to say, well, what else can I do, right? What else can I achieve? Man, I've really been living a limited life up to this
Yeah.
point, And you said something that I wrote down. It said, if you're good at something if you're good at one thing or you accomplish at one thing, you can be good at anything. And I think that's really important because as you started to talk more about the different businesses you run, I think one other challenge that successful people have, well, not successful people, but uh, visionaries have, is managing different projects that they want to do. I mean, you've got a flipping business, you've got your multifamily business, you've got your school, you're training yourself. How do you manage the different, passions that you have, the different businesses, so you can kind of keep them all moving in the right direction without, everything kind of coming crashing down?
God, you know what? Your questions are literally the best. You ask the best questions. You systematize it. What a lot of my systems come from my martial arts school. So when you start martial arts, you're a white belt, right? And you know nothing. And then you learn something that semester. You have a semester. We have a systems and process that once you learn all these techniques, you become a yellow belt. Once you learn all these techniques, you become an orange belt. And once you learn all these techniques, you become a green belt. And you get green 1, 2, 3 stripes, and red 1, 2, 3 stripes, black belt. Okay. So it's the systems and process that you go through. And then once I got to black belt, that's when everything changes. You're a student up till um, black belt. Once you're a black belt, all the students face the instructors. Once you're a black belt, you get up, you walk over, you get your belts, and then you line up with us as a black belt. You're no longer a student, you're an instructor. They make you become an instructor, right? Now you're instructing, you got to teach the white belts, yellow belts, purple belts. You have to really learn. You already learned the technique, but you have to learn how to teach the technique. Now you have the black belts. We have first, second, third, fourth. Now I'm a fifth degree black belt. How do I manage the first, second, third, and fourth degree black belts? Well, the first dons have to teach white and yellow belt. Second dons have to teach this, and then after all they're done teaching, they have to learn for the black belt class. So it's a systems and process where I'm not running everything. I have the systems and process down, that I don't even need to be there. Does that make sense? And then when I turned the school over to this young lady, I told her, I think she's a fourth degree black belt now. And I said, you have the systems and process. This is easy. And she goes, yeah, but who are you going to have to manage it? Who are you going to have to do this? Who are you going to have to do this? And then who are you going to have organize everything? That's really the big question. Who are you going to have organize this? I said, I've got the best organizer in the freaking world. And she knows everybody in the school. She goes, who? I go, you. You've been setting up this system. You've been doing it. You're a teacher. She's a teacher at a college, Oakland University, and she's teaching at a school. I go, relate those two. Do you have a systems and process for that? Yeah. What are we going to do? What do you want to put in? What do you want to take out? And then she started talking about it. I go, I agree. And maybe tweak a couple things with her, right? Now she's taking ownership of it, right? And now all I have to do is manage her, and she manages the black belts, and black belt manages the. So the systems and processes, you're going to bring somebody up. If people are having a hard time running their companies, get an apprentice. Somebody wants to be you where you're at. Get an apprentice, have them help you, and then show them what to do, and then have them do it. Become a yellow belt, become a purple belt, become a black belt. You know what I mean? Show them how to do it. It's a systems and process. If you're doing something and you're doing it well, systematize it. That's really the key to business.
Man, that's great and powerful stuff. And I love the visionary, the visual of it too, because we can all recognize what it takes to go from a white belt to a yellow belt and move up the ranks. But then the turning it around when you get to that black belt, now your job is to instruct. And I think about our business as entrepreneurs in the same way, right? We're so focused on scaling and growing our business, but it gets to a point where we want to reach the next level and we need that other person, right? Now we have to teach someone else how to do what we do so that we can grow and scale appropriately. So that's where the systems and processes come in. That's where having the people on your team comes into play. And it's a great way to think about being able to scale and grow and do other things and have more free time to do the things that you're really passionate about, but also to scale and help and empower other people along that way. I think it comes back to the theme, right? Which is about, empowerment, buy-in, praising your team, letting them know you appreciate them, you believe in them, and then giving them the tools and resources and the systems and processes so that they can see success. So really great information. I love the way you broke all of that down for us, Michael. For folks who do want to learn more about you and your company, they can check out your website, AIVenturesLLC.com. We'll make sure we link to that in our show notes. They can also email you, Mike at AIVenturesLLC.com. Right now, we're going to transition to a round of insights. You ready?
Sounds good.
Mike, give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
To be honest with you, I haven't failed too much in this. I've been very fortunate, blessed to find good deals and then work them out. I partnered with a guy in '09 to build a nice houses in Georgia, and that failed. What I learned from that was, at the time I had kids, and he said, I bought the land, he built the house, and it was 80% done. All he had to do is finish the house and sell it in '08, '09, it was gonna be tough. But I knew how to finish it, I knew what to do. I wasn't willing to leave my wife and kids to go do that. Does that make sense? So my biggest failure at that point was picking the wrong partner. Not the wrong partner. He was a good guy, but it's just the timing. Never get into something that you're not willing to bowl through and take care of and finish. That was my fault because I wasn't willing to finish the project at that time. I wasn't willing to go do what I had to do to finish that project, so I let that one fail. Don't invest in something that you're not willing to push through 100%. You know that. I mean, that's a pretty predominant mindset.
I think it's great though. I think it's really great, and this is normally a kind of a very quick round, but I just think that point is really important because my biggest real estate failure is the same kind of thing where I did a JV deal, partnered with a guy. He was supposed to run it. I'm like, great. Well, halfway through the project, this guy disappeared, and I was stuck with a project that I never really intended to run, and I was supposed to be more of a passive investor, and I ended up having to take the whole thing over. And lesson learned, just make sure you are very clear on what your role is in a project, and you truly believe the people you're partnering with. But great point there. Let's move on to the second question here. Give me a digital or mobile resource you recommend for your business.
Ooh, that's nice. You got great questions, buddy. A digital resource. I mean, you got to have a great CRM. I like Freshworks. MailChimp and Calendly is probably the two most important if you're going to connect. I mean, those are my, biggest ones that I need to work on the most, to connect people and, show them some opportunities and show them some adventures. That's what we're here for. We're here. This is the greatest adventure, is life, and if you can share that life and what you're doing and what you're expanding on, and invite them in, You got people that want to work with you and get the thing going, and people want to invest with you. And like you were mentioning, the passive income, the guy that just sits, I love those guys. I want to be those guys. I want to sit down and do nothing and make money.
All right, give me the book you recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
That's a hard one because it's like, which one of your kids is the best? Right? Which one do you love more? You love them all equally. I don't know what to tell you, but if you were nailing me down to one, it would have to be The Go-Giver. That really shows how to get everybody together. And if you help somebody else out, reciprocity. One of my companies I'm involved in is called Reciprocity. And it's just mutually beneficial. And really that's the key, mutually beneficial in business. When I sit down with a deal, whatever it is, I don't care what it is, everybody that's involved in everybody's got to win. Everybody's got to win on this deal. When we buy the house, the person we buy the house from, the rehabbers have to win. They have to make enough money. And then the disposition people have to win, and the end buyer has to win. And we have to win too, Everybody has to win. So I call it a win-win-win-win-win situation for everybody.
Give me a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals.
Getting up at the same time. Getting up and having a morning ritual. My morning ritual's working out. I don't want to be fat. So I get up and I run Monday. Now, here's another story. I was not, I had 2 knee operations, arthroscopic surgery. And my doctor said, you can't run no more. And I never ran, so I'm like, yeah, I'm not losing anything. And something got up and said, I want to start running. I started out 1 mile, 2 miles, now up to 3 miles twice a week. And then a martial arts class on Friday. So your physical body, and I can tell you're doing this too, your physical body will determine your mental state. If you have a poor physical body, your mental state will suffer. I don't know greatly or a little bit, but it will suffer. So getting up, working out 3 times a week, and then getting up and being, get up at 6:30 to work out, so I can be at work at 8 o'clock every day. So
Give me your number one insight. Give me your number one insight for creating great systems and processes.
Ooh, that's another good one. What's a great insight? Finding the right team members, right? Finding people that are good at putting that together. My son is amazing at that, and now I've got some employees that literally help me do that. And then you gotta look deep into that too. You start looking at the DISC profiles, the DIC. Tony Robbins has that on his website, and you put the right person in the right spot. My son, this is a great analogy. We hired our first person to run our flipping company in Michigan, and then she had to quit. And she was trying to find the new one, and she goes, "Who do you want?" And my son said it perfectly. "Not my dad. I don't want my dad. I don't want this guy. I want someone and I'm horrible with computers, and I'm horrible, but I'm great with people and great with buildings, right? So I need somebody to offset that. Someone that knows the internet, knows computers, and knows this, can create systems and processes for us. Does that make sense? I'm horrible at those. Hire your weakness. Does that make sense? Hire your weakness. That's probably the greatest key to systematizing your business.
All right,
and then teach. Do this. This is how I give back. I love being on podcasts. Yours is an amazing podcast. Thank you very much for having me. But this kind of stuff, when you teach, you get people interested in what you do, and if they enjoy it, they can work with you. You're doing a knockdown, drag out. Great job of that.
Thank you, Michael. Let's lighten it up here for the last one, all right? So you spent a lot of time in Michigan. I know you recently moved to Florida, or more recently moved to Florida. I'm going to let you pick the location, but give me your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
Oh man, you're back to the kids again. Okay, I would have to say it's a new and up and coming company I found in Florida. It's called Columbia. They opened their doors in 1905. And they are just the best restaurant I've ever had. And they have some in Augusta, and other places around Florida too. Amazing place. The Columbia restaurant in the Tampa is my favorite place. What about you? Give me yours.
There's a spot here in Cincinnati. It's not too far from my house. It's called Thai Spicy, and it's a beautiful place. They go on it's a family-owned restaurant, so they run it. It's their family recipes. The family actually makes a pilgrimage back to Thailand annually. So literally at this very moment, we just caught them Friday, Saturday. There was a sign up that they were going to be gone for a month, so we just caught them Friday night. But that's our favorite place, and really enjoy the food there.
Nice.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, listen, Mike, you gave us a lot of great information, man. I really enjoyed hearing your story and just understanding how systems and processes have helped you really scale your business. How martial arts has kind of helped you build your business, build your school, teach and help other people, but also open up your mind to what was possible, not just from teaching other people, but for yourself. And, you gave us a lot of great insights. One thing that I've taken away is the importance of systems and processes, but also teaching others how to do what it is you do so that you can have the right systems and processes in place. Also empowering your team, empowering your contractors, empowering your vendors, empowering the people that are closest to you, because the more that they buy in, the more that they are going to be willing and wanting to do more, to do a little extra, to go above and beyond, and to stretch their own capabilities of what they can deliver. So that's really key. And I think all of us as investors can think about, our teams, whether it's our direct employees, whether it's vendors, contractors, folks that we work with. How do we do that? How do we empower them? How do we make sure that we're giving them the praise necessary so that they can be a vested partner? We can do more deals together. It's a win-win-win-win-win situation like you described, and that's going to allow everyone to thrive and do well. Really just enjoy the conversation. For folks who do want to learn more about you or your company, they can go to your website, aiventuresllc.com. And again, your email is mike@aiventuresllc.com. We will link to both of those in our show notes. Mike, thanks again for being a great guest on Multifamily Insights. We look forward to staying in touch with you, and I hope you have a great day.